Hello, 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 and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting the amazing lives that we're choosing. What I am discussing in this video is manifesting in a way that being grateful for the outcome comes before you actually believe in the outcome. So often we're so caught up in the idea that we have to fully believe in everything that we're doing and everything that we're working on. Sometimes it's just not in us to fully believe in those things because we have not seen it, we have not experienced it, we really don't have a blueprint for it in our own lives. So it can be very challenging and hard when someone says, imagine the end results and live in the end. Like, those are good ideas, but sometimes we really just don't have the tools to fully believe that that thing is going to be possible in our lives. And this doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I was just watching a video the other day with this lady who came from a foreign country, and she was saying there was a time in her life where she didn't think she would ever be able to afford a car, and she's like, much less a house, and much less being able to travel and all these things that she can now do in her life. But what she did understand about life in the process was just keep doing the work and then keep going. And so sometimes we place too much attention on believing in the actual outcome that we want, right? I feel like the doom and gloom approach to things makes us feel like there's a period we can put on that sentence when there really should be a comma. Like, we feel like, well, that's not going to work out anyway. That's not going to be what we want it to be anyway. That's not going to be like, we feel like when we get to talking those sort of conclusions, first of all, one is we take away our ability to feel vulnerable and to allow the disappointment to rest along with the belief. Because sometimes we want to have the belief only and not it sit side by side with the idea of disappointment. So instead of feeling the deep disappointment, we just decide to bring it to us in full force. So you've ever been around people who, they're trying to work on something or do something and create something, but the whole time they're talking about it, they're doubting that the outcome that they want is going to be the end result. It's like, oh, this is probably not going to work out anyway, girl. I'm just doing what I do. This is probably going to be the worst case scenario. This is probably going to be, whatever scenario that's not going to be what they really want. But the odd thing about that is that it's not exactly what they want to experience. So it's just a way of like buffering feelings, but it really doesn't buffer, because the whole entire experience of putting doom and gloom on something or deciding that it's not going to work out before it even happens, you feel bad about that the whole time, no matter what. Now, when we approach things to where I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, it's not really my business. The how is not really my business, because that's really up to the creator. But what I do know is that I'm not going to be content if I just give up on it altogether. I'm not going to be content if I just look at it as something as a gone possibility or not available in my life or not something that I can manifest or create. And so in that, we have to find a balance of saying, I'm okay with the disappointment, even if this doesn't turn out the way I want it to be. But what I'm going to do is be grateful for the outcome that I want. Because if we get too caught up into trying to buffer ourselves from the disappointment and trying to hurry up and get to the end point of it and put a period on it and say, this is what it is and this is how it's going to turn out, and we just got to accept it now, then we never truly get to the place where we can believe in the outcome on a deeper level, even if we don't necessarily have it in the beginning, where we can start saying, I'm so grateful now that, right? I think it's Bob Proctor who has that sentence in a lot of his work that he shares. I'm so grateful now that I am living the abundant life that I choose. I'm so grateful now that I get to drive the vehicle that I wanted to drive always. I'm so grateful now that I have improved relationships with my family and friends. So whatever that is. But what wouldn't be helpful is walking around saying, well, people never change anyway. It's never going to work out anyway. It's always going to be, the worst case scenario. We may as well just forget it. While it helps you, so you think it's helping you in the meanwhile with not feeling the level of disappointment that you feel you would feel if you got your hopes up. But it's really not, because what it is creating is a low vibration experience that's just low vibration all the way through. When you get into the place where you are being grateful for the outcomes that are not even there yet, or grateful for the things that you want to experience, you're experiencing this vibrational high, this energetic lift that keeps you above the negativity related to it. Now, if you get to the place where that thing does not work out, you still feel a level of disappointment, but because you built up so much hope and so much positivity and belief, that disappointment won't last very long, and then you can see yourself having enough positive energy to pick yourself back up and maybe try again at something else, or maybe just move on with your life, or continue to create those positive energies and attitudes, right? We don't get ourselves any closer to the things that we want to experience by constantly doubting it the whole time. So say you have a particular issue that's happening in your life, and it's something that you really want to clear up. Let me come up with something pretty good that people may be dealing with. Or say it's debt, right? A lot of people deal with a whole bunch of debt because, it's kind of hard to live in this country without creating some sort of debt based on how the system is set up for us to operate within. So even getting a job, I was telling my daughter the other day, she got a little paper to do her taxes, right? I was like, yeah, taxes eventually become a debt. It's like everything is about debt. So sometimes people are overwhelmed with the level of debt they have. But at the same time, they're praying for and working towards clearing that up so that they can have another level of freedom financially, which will probably free them up emotionally, and it will probably free them up emotionally and create a better experience for them in their financial world, right? Because I would like to think that finances aren't something that's truly dragging people down, but I do know that there are instances in our lives that it is happening. But like I always say, stress and anxiety about it is not going to change the outcome. It doesn't improve anything, right? So being grateful for the outcome may feel daunting for a lot of people because they're looking at these numbers on the paper and they're looking at the lack of progress they're making on paper, but someone's telling them to say, I'm so grateful now that I am debt free. I'm so grateful now that all my bills are paid. I'm so grateful now that I get to live the financially abundant life that I choose. And they're thinking like, I'm going to have to practice cognitive dissonance in order to make this thing work. But if you think about it, in many other areas of our lives, we practice cognitive dissonance all the time. We completely shut off the possibilities of one thing because it doesn't work into the narrative that we want to experience. I was thinking about this like with getting into Ubers or getting into Lyfts, or having DoorDash people bring your food. Like there's a real strong possibility, there's a real strong opening for something negative to take place in those instances. But we look at statistics and we go with what's on paper and a lot, and we kind of ignore the instances where those things are not taking place. And then we allow ourselves to rest in the gratitude for this ride is coming, the gratitude for my food is on its way, not, what if somebody poisons my food? And we do the same thing when we get on airplanes. We practice this cognitive dissonance. Some of us do, because I've seen some people have full-fledged panic attacks, when the plane is waiting to take off, because it's just something that they can't wrap their head around. But we practice this cognitive dissonance that we're not in this little metal tube flying through the air, and if anything goes wrong, this may be the end of our experience here on this earth, right? We just kind of take our mind off of it and go do something else. Well, if we can do the same thing with the outcomes that we want to experience in our lives, we can create a successful outcome, right? Because you do get to that destination. If you're watching this video, you have gotten to that destination, And so if we can think about how can we employ those sort of tactics in our life? Like, I know everything on paper is telling me one thing about my financial situation, but on the other hand, I want to feel better about it. I want to be in a belief about it. I want to believe in the outcome that everything's working out for me, that everything's going to turn out great. So in that process, you can practice cognitive dissonance. That doesn't mean ignore what's happening with the finances, but it means that you're going to start treating it as a way that it's just another aspect of life, and it's not something that's completely controlling your life and controlling how you operate in this life. Because when it has too much control over you, it has the ability to make you feel happy one day and sad the next. If it has the ability to make you feel really happy, it has the ability to bring you all the way down. So you just want to live in the space where you're grateful for the outcome before the things even happen. It's not about being completely ignorant when it relates to your actual reality and circumstance, but it's about saying, I'm not going to allow this reality and circumstance to dictate how I feel about myself and what kind of life I want to have. And when you continue on this path, you'll see that doors will be open for you in places where you didn't necessarily know they would be open, just simply because of the mindset and the attitude that you decided to hang on to, as opposed to saying, well, it's not going to work out anyway. I'm a firm believer in what people call miracles. I'm a firm believer in supernatural outcomes, because I do not believe that human beings have all of the answers when it comes to what we are experiencing here in this earth realm. I don't think that. I don't feel like, with all of the many infinite possibilities out there, so much of our existence and our experience can't be explained. We have a lot of science about it, but we do not fully understand the whole entire human experience and existence. And because of this, to me, that leaves wiggle room for there to be so many other options when it comes to how things are going to work out in an individual's life, and then how they're working out on a large global scale. So until someone can just sit me down and say, this is exactly how it goes, and the creator himself shows up here and does that, then I'm not going to push myself in the corner to say, this is what everybody believes, because human beings are always believing something, and it's usually based on their previous experiences. It's usually based on the overall negative tone sometimes that sits in society that we have to kind of work our way out of. So when people tell me certain things and I'm supposed to get all doom and gloom and kind of like brought down about it, it doesn't even matter or work. I've been in so many instances to where people were telling me some news about something, and they expected this feedback that I was going to be, okay, well, whatever. And, that I was going to be like, oh no, this is happening, I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. And what they didn't understand is that in my mind, I was already just sitting there being grateful for the outcome. I've had people like, when my money was low and I had a vehicle that needed a lot of work at one point, and it was a lifeline because I needed it to take care of my life, my daughter's life. Like, I needed it to take care of the life that I was living at that time. And so when I went in there to go talk about the vehicle with the mechanic, he was like, oh, I got some bad news. And he was just like, oh, it's going to be this and that. And this was like, well into the thousands of repairs and work or stuff that needed to be done. And it was an ongoing issue. So I knew that it was a valid issue because it had happened when I was at another mechanic, and then I didn't take care of it fully. Then it was a new mechanic. And I'm like, I already know this is the issue. But he was so heavy about it. And I was like, okay. But while I was talking to him, the only thing I was thinking was, I'm so grateful now that this vehicle has been made whole. I'm so grateful now that the finances that are needed to fix this vehicle have already showed up and arrived. I'm so grateful now that I have this beautiful day to spend, that, I can just go home and I can eat some food that I like and I can enjoy my life today. Like, I was already on the outcome that I wanted to experience. And so we have to get into that mindset that being grateful before the outcome is a level of delusion, but there's nothing wrong with being delusional. Think about some of the most delusional people that you know. Don't they always get what they want 99% of the time? We can think of some big time delusional people that are in the spotlight and they get what they want. So if you want to start creating that life that you want to experience and manifesting it, you have to learn to be grateful for the outcome. Running to the doom and gloom and running to what won't work all the time, you think that it's making you feel better, but it's not. It's just tricking you into thinking that you have control over something that you really don't have any real control over, and you really don't have any real insight into. Because all of the many infinite aspects of things that can be changing and shifting at any given time, one single human does not have access to that information. You have no idea of the rooms your name is being spoken in right now. You have no idea of the people that's saying, this is going to be the best person to do that. You have no idea of the money that's on its way to you. You have no idea of the experiences that you're going to have within this year, because you don't have a crystal ball. You can't see into the future. But what you can do is be grateful for the outcomes before they even show up. And falling into doom and gloom is not going to make your life better in any kind of way. It's not going to make you feel more in control. It's not going to make you feel more satisfied. It's just like a trick that people use that does not work to take away any of their high hopes so that they don't have to fall so far down if it doesn't work out. But that's not the way that it actually feels. You can't just live your life at the low level of hope and belief and think that you're not experiencing the negativity that you're actually trying to run away from. It's like push and pull that you can't win by not looking to what you want to experience. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.